Hey everybody, it's Alex from Heavy New York back at Irving Plaza, and today we are here with Lindsay of Cradle of Filth. Thank you for your time.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's so awesome to have you here. You're well into the record cycle for Cryptoriana, the seductiveness of Decay.
Tongue twister.
Yep, I was rehearsing it so much on the way here.
You did good.
Yeah, but it's been 2 years since the release of the record. Do you have like a conclusion on this overall record cycle?
It's I'm really proud of this lineup. We've been together 5 years, and this is our second album together. And I'm just really proud that we've been able to steadfast forward, just keep going and keep it together. And it's amazing. People are really happy with it. Our fan base is really happy with it. You're always gonna get like the 2% naysayers who are just angry at the world and always spewing mean things online. But I mean, you have to focus on the positive, and the 98%, they've just been so happy with us. I mean, I listened back to it, like playing Wester Vespertine, or Vespertine, sorry, British way of saying it, live. It's such a beautiful song. The guys put their heart and soul into it, and I'm proud of being part of that. Definitely.
Yeah, of course. Now, you mentioned that, you're in the band now for 5 years. The previous record was your first record with the band. When you joined Cradle of Filth, were you looking at, like, the previous catalog and were, like, adjusting your vocal and playing style to that? Or did the rest of the band kind of want you to bring a little bit of your own mix to Cradle?
In the beginning, there was really no direction. They just kind of hired me and said, go. My first rehearsal was live on stage in Mexico City to 3,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah, my nerves were shot after that. But I was very lucky. I did about 8 years of training, mainly in classical, but a lot of other styles as a vocalist. And when I joined the band and I listened to what I had to learn, I was like, wow, there is so much going on. And I just did my best to emulate that, copy it kind of the best I could. But now Danny is, he's like, you're not Liv Christine. Just be you when you sing Nymphetamine and just do your version of her Ghost in the Fog. They're more concerned, like, do what's best for your voice, because not every voice is the same. And at the end of the day, you have to care about your longevity and not wearing yourself out on tour. So I've been very lucky in the sense, like, it's Danny's band and he directs me. And then our drummer, Martin, is always there for backup when, as a musical director, guiding me. And I appreciate it. I'm very lucky that the guys are, they help me out, but they also let me be myself at the same time.
You have the best of both worlds because you don't have too much freedom where it's like directionless, but yeah, and then but you still are able to bring yourself into it.
Yeah, and it was very in the beginning. I was told when I per se joined the band, actually, it was just like a 6 months thing, and then I don't think Cradle really had a plan after that. But then the year after, in 2014, they were like, oh no, like, come back, be part of the Behemoth tour that we did. And I was like, oh cool, I guess I'm full time now. And that's kind of when we got this lineup and everything's been moving forward.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm very curious about Cradle of Filth is the band I've always thought is very atmospheric. You really have that black metal feel to it, but you have symphonic elements and a lot of technical elements. Is there ever, I've been referring to this, an overlying armature behind their music? Is there something that ever comes first? Do you focus on rhythm first or melody first?
We are just like, keeps putting out ideas and see which ones stick, which ones stay. There's definitely like a sound and aesthetic that goes to Cradle Filth. I mean, I write for 3 different projects. I write for Cradle, I write for my solo, and I write for my other band, Antiqua. And I write very different things. And sometimes I write things and I'm like, this is definitely Cradle. This is going to Cradle, or this is definitely the other project or my solo. But I like that because it's like, none of my ideas go to waste. And when I know it's got that spooky, quirky, spooky vibe, it's going to beautiful but spooky, it's going to Cradle Filth, you know what I mean? Like horror movie soundtrack kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I feel like Cradle of Filth has like songs that are very heavy, but also songs that are very melodic. Like a song like, and I don't think you were in the band during this, but for like The Death of Love, that was like a very slow, very melodic song. But then a song like, Forgive Me, Father, which is a little faster and more guitar driven. Depending on like if you're playing a slower song or a faster song or a more atmospheric song, is it a different mind frame or different methodology playing those?
And that's the thing, every album is very different because the lineup was different and the direction was different. But what was the question again? My brain burned out. Like, what were you asking about?
Like,
the difference?
depending on the type of the songs that you're playing, if it's faster or slower, how different of a process it is playing it.
Oh, it's just like I'm learning Cruelty and the Beast on this tour right now because we have Cruelty and the Beast shows coming up. after this tour. And I'm actually focusing on the keyboards first because the keyboards on that album are not easy at all, but vocals come very naturally and very easily to me. I have a very good audible memory. I remember lyrics and melodies very well. I just started working on the vocals, like the backing oohs and ahs for Cruelty and the Beast Today. Like I got through the first song like that because that's like my main thing. Like singing's always been my main focus. So yeah, it's not really a challenge for me, but I've been very blessed. Singing and lyric writing and melody has been like one of my gifts that it's like a second language to me.
Do you need to hear music to come up with lyrics, or do you sometimes have a lyrical concept or subject matter, maybe that helps determine the composition?
Usually it's a feeling or a concept, like a story. Like I'm one of those freaks that like when I hear an idea, it's all there in my head, everything. Like all the music, everything. It's there, very pop structured, like verse, chorus, verse, bridge, all that stuff. Yeah, and it's frustrating because again, I get stuck on tour and I have a great idea for my solo project, and it's like, oh my god, I have to like try to like really write this down and put it on voice memo on my phone and keep it until I get home to work on it. But with Cradle Filth, the thing is like when I just get like this little excerpt of an idea for vocals or piano or harp, I just record that one little idea and send it to them, and they just put it together in the organized chaos that is the Cradle Filth writing process.
Yeah. Being that I feel like you having a very melodic vocal style, but also playing instruments that are very melodic, do they sometimes go hand in hand? Does maybe experimenting with one instrument open up ideas for another?
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's part of the writing process. Sometimes things will get switched around. Like I'll write something on piano and it'll end up on guitar. Same thing, it would be on guitar and then it'll end up on the organ and depending on the timbre of what instrument we think it sounds best on, definitely. I mean, the melody never goes away. We just try to fit the right voicing over it. Yeah.
Now, as somebody who has seen you live countless times, I mean, seeing you guys play live to me is a completely different experience than just listening to you on, my earphones or on the computer. So when you're playing these songs live, is it a different experience playing live versus like in the studio or a practice space?
Yeah, there's pressure and there's a huge focus. I mean, when I'm at home and I'm trying to go over the parts, my cats are jumping on the piano and swatting the toys and throwing them at my feet, and and then just listening to get it in. It's not the same because you can wander when you're like listening to the song, but on social media. But yeah, when you're live, it's like, okay, this is it. Like, oh my god, and I mean, there's room for error. Like we all make little mistakes live, nothing major. Thank God. Yeah, it's a whole other thing. It's like you become like this character on stage is like the best way to describe it. I kind of just forget about everything and just become one with the band and the music, and it's a whole other thing.
Yeah. And I could definitely tell by you guys playing, you guys do go into like another reality when you play live.
Yeah, it's fun. I like it. And I like Cradle's music because it's quirky. It's not fully black metal. It's not fully progressive. It's not fully symphonic. It's just Cradle.
Yeah. And you led me into my next question, because do you think Cradle of Filth is a band that can really experiment and try new things? And being that you are an experimental band, does that make it a little bit easier to try new things?
Absolutely. And I mean, we do that, I think, with every album. And we all just sit down and vote on whether we think it sounds good or not. Whether, like, we're like, meh, because we have a broad spectrum of influences. Like, you talk to every member. They're not just metal. Like, they are theater and pop and classic rock, and it's insane the amount of different stuff, even down to like EDM, industrial, electrical. Like we listen to everything, so we bring a lot of those influences, but at the end of the day we're like, let's make this really heavy gothic atmosphere, and that suits Danny's voice, and that's what it comes down to. But it's nice, but we try not to waver too far away, because I've learned something recently being back in school with like marketing and genres, and you have your term umbrella, which is it's like metal, right? And it's like, as long as we keep it metal, we're okay. You know what I mean? If you start moving into like rock or like, it's like, oh no, like
whatever other subgenre on the periodic table.
Yeah, you're gonna upset some of your core fans. You don't want to do that, man. You want to give them like the way I view songwriting and the process is, you're just getting better and better and better. You're building on what you've already done right, and you're doing it in a new way, and you're doing it in a way that is telling the story even better every time, because I find every band has their theme, whether it's anger or sadness or depression or recovery or liberation or heartbreak. You're just telling that story in a way that's better than the last, and you're telling your story, but you're telling other people's story too. And that's how I've always viewed songwriting, and I like to think that Cradle keeps doing that.
Yeah. And you kind of, again, led me into my next question because,
okay.
yeah, you've been doing great at that. But because I feel like you guys have many different sounds, but you have many different vibes as well. I was hearing you sound test to an Amphetamine Fix. I mean, that's a very eerie intro, but then you have songs that I would say are more, triumph or more powerful, and then songs that are a little more melancholy. It's fair to say that the band feels many different emotions when writing music, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to Danny and his lyrics and his stories. I mean, some of them are very personal to him. Like, if you listen to some lyrics on the last 2 albums and what he's been going through, you can hear in a lot more of the sad songs, for sure. He's telling a story. But then there's sometimes where he just, you will know the lion by his claw. He's just talking about, don't mess with me. That's how I view that. I mean, you have to talk to him about it. But that's how I perceive it, being his co-vocalist and co-writer. So, it's cool. I think there's so many different facets in us as artists. We feel so many emotions. And when you can just stick to, that one emotion and tell that story in the best way possible, I think that's really cool.
Yeah, awesome. And the final question I'd like to ask you is that Cradle of Filth, I've seen Cradle of Filth play with a variety of different bands. The first time I ever saw you guys actually was fairly recently. It was on your tour with Butcher Babies and Neobliviscaris. Yeah. And then later you would play with Ginger and Uncured, and now you're on tour with Wednesday 13. Depending on the types of tours Cradle is on, have you noticed maybe a different type of audience?
No, they're always the same. I think they're very accepting too of whoever opens for us, because our fans are really open-minded. They like a lot of different subgenres within metal, because we touch on a lot of different subgenres within our music. So if we're bringing someone out and they're prog or gent, or in this case, more on the end spectrum of gothic, or goth rock, I guess. Everyone's very open to it and really takes a liking to whoever's opening for us, and I like that about our fans. Our fans are just so cool. I really like our fans.
Yeah. And you guys have some of the most dedicated fans I've ever seen, too.
It's crazy. I lost track of how many people have tattooed my signature to them. That's just weird. When that first started happening, I told my mom. My mom's like, what? Yeah. I'm like, yeah. And then the face tattoos, pictures of my face, started getting up on people's bodies. And I sent them, look, Mom, something you made is on someone else's body forever. And my mom's like, what is going on? It's weird, because I'm just that chick from Oshawa, Ontario in Canada, but they are dedicated, and they're so loving, and they're so kind. There's been times where things have gone lost or broken, or I needed something, and my fans are right there helping me fund it in any way that they can. I appreciate them so much.
That's the power of music. I mean, when I saw you guys last year, or actually 362 days ago when you played here last.
Oh, right. Damn, you're good with numbers.
No, actually, your tour manager told me that. He remembered the date.
Yeah.
But I never seen a line go around like that. I really think that having such a dedicated fan base, and I really think that could influence the music as well.
Absolutely. And I recently went to Australia, and a fan in Australia, Australians are colorful people, and then said, man, you're like the Mother Teresa of metal. And I'm like, what? And he's like, no, you write everybody, you care about them, you ask, you talk to them, you ask how they're doing. And I'm like, I don't have all the answers, but sometimes all you need to do is just listen and give the best advice you can, because a lot of our fans go through some tough stuff. I mean, I've been through some tough stuff, you know what I mean? And sometimes I wish I had someone as wise as myself telling me what to do. But that's the thing, I think we're creatures of, we're good at giving people advice, but we're not always good at following our own advice, So, but no, our fans are cool. I love our fans. I love, they inspire me. Their stories inspire me. Writing and talking with them. So many of our fans are also artists in other realms, whether it's makeup or fire breathing or dancing or acting. One of our fans is a voice actor in anime, and I keep in touch with them. It's so cool, and I love that. I love that a lot. Yeah.
And lastly, how do you know when a song is done?
Writing?
Yeah.
When I don't always know, as Tuomas from Nightwish said, sometimes you just have to stand back and enjoy the scenery, because I feel that I suffer a little bit from just being too critical, but I'm more focused on vocals, and when I can listen back to a song and I'm happy with my vocals and I can listen to those for the rest of my life, that's when I know I'm okay with the song being done.
Normally I get like the shortest, like I don't know when a song is done, or like what, like the best is when I get the final mixes back. So
That too, but that's my problem. When we're in the process of mixing, I just start hearing extra things I want to add in. I'm like, we need Gregorian chant here, and we need more harp here, and everyone's like, dude, calm down, you know. So I doing my own solo album was a huge learning curve, and there was times where I was like, okay, like I just want to write a song that really is vocally driven, and there's the stuff in the background, and that's enough for me. And luckily, the person I wrote my solo album with was a great mentor and guided me through it. So, you know, everyone's different. Everyone's very, very different.
of course. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time.
No problem.
Just is there anything, you know, Cryptoriana, the seductiveness of Decay, is
Yeah.
been out for 2 years now.
Almost,
Yeah. Is there just anything else with Cradle or any of the other projects that you're in that you would like to promote?
Oh, well, I mean, we're currently working on demos on this tour for the next album. Cryptoriana it's out. You know, pick it up if you're into like heavy funk. um, yeah, I'm a cartoon character now. Beelzebubs is out with a new single. It's a black metal comic book that's like animated a little bit now. The album's out this month on the 26th. I'm really excited about that.
That's awesome.
It's cool. I mean, I'm a cartoon character. That's crazy. Her name's Schoolcraft. She's really cute. I love her. Yeah, that's about it. Cradle's just going on forward. Check out our website, cradlefilth.com/tour, to see if we're in your area, and tickets should all be linked there.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Well, thank you so much.
absolutely.
Yep. Everybody, Lindsay of Cradle of Filth, Cryptoriana, the Seductiveness of Decay is officially out. Be sure to pick it up. We'll see you next time on Heavy New York.